Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm here another day off of work, so figured I'd film another video for you guys. The initial plan was to film these every Saturday morning and then just upload them once they're ready and hoping to get on a consistent basis, but I've actually had most of the week off of work. I work outside and it's like, I think it's negative 17 for the first few hours today. So we're gonna take the day off and I could do this instead, which is probably better. I'd probably rather do this. It's warmer in here talking to you guys. I cleaned my window from the last video. You can still see the ring light in there, but the screen, probably see a little bit of paint on the screen still. I built the house very recently, moved in, I painted it. I didn't see no reason for covering the windows before paint, and I learned very quickly why you should cover windows when you're painting. So, the question today is about parenthood. I asked everyone, specifically parents on Instagram, to tell me what they learned immediately after having children. I think the whole childhood development process from the ages of a newborn, probably until you die, honestly, you're going to learn new things about having kids, but I think there's immediate lessons to be learned right after. So new parents might be able to learn or just prepare. Otherwise, it's just something for other parents to resonate with. Alright, so the first response I got, you can't do everything yourself. Ask for help sometimes. I think a lot of moms specifically, not to put words in your guys' mouth, but just from my experience, moms will feel like failures if they can't do something themselves because that's what moms do. Moms take care of their babies, moms feed their babies, moms do this, moms do this, moms do that. So when you can't do everything, you feel like you can't do anything. Just ask for help. I'm sure most of you have someone at your disposal who is willing to just come over for an hour and watch the baby so you can sleep or so you can catch up on whatever you need to. Otherwise, hopefully there's a father in the picture to be able to assist with that as well. And hopefully he helps. Otherwise, make him watch this, and I'll tell him right now. How stupid. Next response. Mental health is very fragile and important. I think it's interesting that this person says they learned how important mental health was soon after having the baby, as if it was almost eye-opening, like kind of neglected for the longest time. It's so draining, especially on the mom, that you begin to realize maybe once you start getting out of that, how easy it is to fall into like a rock bottom, and realizing you need to do the things and put the things in place to not get to that point and to treat mental health with fragility that it deserves, especially after going through 9 to 10 months of uncomfort and body changes and all that. This is kind of directed at moms so far, but if there's any guys watching about this, especially guys about to have a baby, just seriously take into consideration what your wife is going through. It is ridiculous, the changes. Watch a video on what pregnancy does to the woman's body if it helps you. Like, don't stay ignorant to this, and don't just think that all the stuff she's saying is just like you sweep it under the rug and just be like, oh, you're fine. You're exaggerating just because of the hormones. Yeah, it is because of the hormones. Like, hormones are real. That is a true factor. Like, it's not an excuse. If your hormones went nuts and also your testosterone just left your body, you wouldn't feel like doing anything. And that probably wouldn't be your fault. That's still hormones. Like, hormones are an important part of our biology. So, yeah. There. Next one. This person learned how much having children changed your perspective on life and all relationships and friendships. That kind of comes with doing anything that you've never done before, especially something as drastic. There's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of experiences. Like, let's say you go skydiving. You get done, that can alter the way you think. I've never gone skydiving, but I've always wanted to. You get down, and maybe you think how you could think of how fragile life is. Your parachute could have been non-functioning, and you could have just splattered on the ground. But skydiving can't alter you the same way as having a baby can, because once that baby is in the world, that baby is there until the baby dies or the baby grows up and dies. Not to be gruesome, but it does happen, and it's sad, but it happens. But that even if that baby comes into your life and then let's say it leaves too early, it gets sick and it passes away, that's still altered the way you lived, probably for eternity. Probably more so if it died early. So the second half of the question is it also changes your perspective on all relationships and friendships. And I don't think it's true that people with kids can't be friends with people who don't have kids. But because having a child changes your perspective so much, it changes you to the point where you may not think like these old friends you used to have. A certain sense of maturity typically comes from having a kid. There's some people who haven't matured from having a kid, and I don't know how, but those people are anomalies, so let's just forget about them. I think that's all I need to say, is that because having a baby alters your perspective on life so much and just helps you realize what's truly important, that some old friends and relationships maybe aren't worth having anymore, and not even not worth, but those may just fade because of the differences. You don't have as much commonalities, you don't have as much to share with them, and you guys are just more different than you used to be. And as far as relationships as well, having a kid definitely could and probably would and probably should have a strain on your relationship with your significant other. You have less sleep. You are out of your typical habits. I'm thinking of a newborn right now. Once that baby grows up and you get a system, you can obviously fall back into it. But yeah, absolutely, your schedule gets messed up, and who isn't kind of a dick sometimes when they're tired? I'm not, but I don't know if anyone else isn't. But yeah, there's definitely strain placed on a relationship when you get into a funk or get out of a rhythm, which is bound to happen unless you get super lucky. That's like the 0.1% though. Next response. How selfish I am. So basically, you really do learn how selfish you are. Maybe I should tell a story. The first night in the hospital, my wife was in pain and discomfort, and she was tired, and the baby cried all night, and I slept through the whole thing. And I think I had to have known, like, subliminally that the baby was crying, but my body and my mind was just like, nope, you're not getting up. And I just let my wife get up and deal with it the whole first day in the hospital. And I remember thinking to myself, what did we do? And I know I truly didn't think that, but being able to look back on that, and that ran through my mind, at the core of me, there was something wrong with that. I had 10 months to prepare for this, and the day finally came, and I clearly wasn't prepared. And I was, when everyone asked me, are you ready to have a kid? I know everyone always says, you're never ready. I was like, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready for anything. But when it came time, my mind wasn't strong enough to deal with it. And when that ran through my mind, I woke up the next morning and I'm like, wow, I'm weak. And it exposed so much of me. And I know I'm not alone on this, so I'm really comfortable sharing it. I know there's plenty of moms who maybe won't want to admit, and dads, how they feel with their newborn sometimes, when it won't stop crying, when it won't eat, when it does this, when it won't do this. And you're not alone. Those thoughts that come through your mind that are sometimes just so dark, and you wonder why you thought that. The majority of parents think that. Like that goes through their minds, whether they want to admit it or not. And yeah, I mean, technically the day my baby was born, it's almost like subliminally I regretted it, because I was like, what did we just do? And I had to really work through that and try to dig deep and figure out why I was so selfish, and that kind of kept coming up, especially the first few weeks. It's dark. Our minds are dark sometimes, and I think we need to learn from that and see that as a warning sign. A metaphor for this is when your check engine light comes on in your car, you're not mad that the check engine light is on, you're mad because you have to pay money to fix it, but that's warning you that you have a bigger problem with your car. The light isn't the problem, it's an indicator telling you that you have a problem with your car. And that's what these thoughts are. They're indicating that there's something wrong deep inside of you. So you can address that early. You can pay that money early so you don't have bigger problems down the road. So don't ignore those emotions or those feelings or those thoughts. Like, pick them apart and get to the root of it as soon as possible so it doesn't turn into something bigger. The person learned that not a whole lot else truly matters besides them. Little things become so irrelevant. I'm reflecting on how I felt when our baby was born. I think once your baby's born, you have this innate desire to protect them. You realize how quickly that this baby couldn't survive without you. And you have to be diligent watching the baby, feeding the baby, keeping the baby warm, making sure the baby's not too warm, making sure the baby is buckled properly in its car seat, make sure it's sitting up properly, make sure its neck is being supported. And you are the only one who can make sure those things are put in place. You, the parent. That baby's life is literally in your hands. And this isn't to scare anyone, this is to tell you to be prepared if you're expecting. It's really not that hard if you're diligent. Sure, if you're neglectful and don't know how to do all these things, sure, but there's so much content out there, everywhere, you know how to use the internet, to figure out how to take care of a baby. And there's so much contrasting information as well, so people get overwhelmed. There's kind of this small debate on what was harder, being a parent back in like the 50s or being a parent now. Because in the 50s, you had one parenting book, and that was it, whatever that said goes. Right now, you have 100,000 different parenting styles, and people will give you so much crap if you're not doing theirs. And just do you. Keep the baby safe, and just do what you think is best for your baby. Straight up. Don't ignore scientific reasoning, like if your baby should do this instead of this, and they've got a good basis for that, and you agree with that, do that. There's so much information out there. Just try not to be overwhelmed by it. If it's not going to affect the health and the life of the baby, you're pretty safe doing what you think is best. This person learned that grandparents can be just as needy as the kids can be. I probably shouldn't say too much in case we have parents or in-laws watching, but I agree with this. Grandparents can be just as needy as the children, specifically for seeing the grandchild, I believe, is what this learning experience entails. The grandparents love their grandkids for some reason, and they need to chill out. Alright, so the last one is that love multiplies. Not to get personal or anything, but we're having our second one, second baby girl, and I think her biggest fear is how am I going to love this second baby as much as I love the first baby. And I've had that thought cross my mind too, in the sense that not like how will I love her as much, but how can I make sure I'm giving my toddler just as much love and affection as I'm giving the newborn, because newborns demand so much attention. And that's going to be something where I don't want to learn the day of the hospital and have something run through my mind, not knowing how to do it. I'm trying to prepare myself early and really be able to balance my time and give my wife time with the newborn, just her and the newborn, and also give her time with just her and our toddler. That's something we're gonna have to figure out, but I know it can be done, so I'm gonna rest in the fact that we can figure it out. And also this quote from a parent, knowing that they believe that love multiplies is actually really good for me to dwell on, knowing that you don't have to make your love thinner, and you don't have to put all your love right here into one kid and then split it, and then split it again into a third. You don't have to take any of this love and put it over here. It's just, it multiplies over here. You times it by 2. You don't cut it in half. You don't divide, it multiplies. With this person's experience, learning that love will multiply and not divide, that's a huge truth to rest in, I think. And hopefully that calms anyone who's watching this, hopefully calms your fears if you have that same fear. I think there's a lot more love inside you to go around than people realize. And I think babies unlock that. Alright, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I'm an old soul. Thank you guys for clicking the clicker and watching a video. Hopefully you guys learned something from this, whether you're a parent, expecting to be a parent, maybe you just want to be a parent someday, maybe you just were curious about how parents felt. Either way, thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that like button if you like to. I hear that helps. I'm not familiar enough with YouTube to know if it helps, but apparently it helps. So yeah, thanks again guys.